All right, meteorologist Matthew East here with you. This is the Thursday, January 17th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Let's start with the radar here across the region. We continue to see a lot of rain gradually moving on through, and this rain will be picking up in intensity and coverage as we get deeper into the day. This is the rain portion of the system, and that'll be with us through a good chunk of the day. And we will get some very generous rain amounts. I'll show you that in just a second. Now there's the snow portion of the system already cranking some snow back into Mississippi. A good chunk of the Magnolia State seeing some snow this morning, and it is accumulating in some spots. And that will gradually be working northeastward. That is with the upper level low. So across the southeast, look at all these winter weather related products stretching from easternmost Louisiana all the way up to southern New Jersey. For our region, most folks in North Carolina that are under a winter weather product, it's a winter storm warning. That includes Charlotte and Hickory and Boone, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Raleigh-Durham, and points north to the Virginia border. Surrounding that, kind of on the southern fringe of that, you have a winter weather advisory that is in effect. Now again, it's going to be rain through a good chunk of the day today. Watch that snow begin to break out over Louisiana and Mississippi. And again, that'll be working eastward. There's the low pressure. That surface low will track just off to the south of North Carolina. And we will see a lot of rain as today unfolds. Let me show you what the RPM is printing out for rain totals. This is the rain portion of the system roughly. And some really healthy rain amounts. Now let's switch to the modeling. This is the NAM. And this is early this afternoon. We go 3 hours later. This is mid-afternoon, and then here we are around 7 o'clock this evening. And at this point in time, that's when you begin to have 850 millibar temperatures crashing. There's the 850 millibar chart at that point in time. The freezing line at 5,000 feet roughly made it to Raleigh-Durham and down towards Charlotte, or a little north of Charlotte at least. 3 hours later, there's the next 3 hours worth of precipitation. And the 850s continue to crash at that point in time. Let me go back to 18 hours, and then there's 15 hours. So your 850 low tracking from Georgia to South Carolina, southern North Carolina, then over into eastern parts of the Carolinas. And then here's your next frame of precipitation. That's the precip from 3 to 6Z. That's during the course of the early morning hours tomorrow morning. I should say that's really late evening to early morning, around the midnight time frame. And again, the 850s continue to crash even further, down to 4 below for the 850s by that point in time as the precip's ending for places like Greensboro, Charlotte, and close to Raleigh. And then the system pulls on out to sea overnight. Now this is what the HPC is going with. These are their 1-inch snow probabilities. You see that peach shading or darker, that's almost a certainty to get an inch on the ground. That's over 80% probabilities. Now here's the 4-inch area. There is the 8-inch area. And then just for giggles, through the foot probabilities in there. All right, let me go through some of the various snow charts from the modeling. First of all, there's the RPM. And I think it's a little bit underdone. All right, there's the European snow output, that darker shade of blue there. That is the 3 to 6 inch area, and this does not factor any melting in. This is just the falling precipitation. There's the 0Z run of the GFS. At the time I'm cutting this video, the 6Z snow chart had not yet come in. And then finally here's the NAM, which has been all along the most aggressive with this, and it's kind of been the leader of the pack in terms of picking up on the trends with this being a very intense system going forward. There are some similarities to the system to the March 2009 system. It's close in intensity, but it's not quite as cold of a system, this current system, as the March system was. But you're going to get one of these big deformation bands form right around in this area, somewhere in there. I mean, maybe too far south, but somewhere in that area that gradually works through, and that's where you're going to get some really heavy rates of snow, maybe even some thunder snow this evening. So this is kind of what I'm going with for an accumulation forecast. A little bit of a bigger range than I'd normally like to go with, but I think in this type of scenario where you're dealing with some melting due to the ground, and you're dealing with a kickover from rain to snow with wet ground initially, and also the potential for some very heavy snow. You have to go with a bigger range than normal. But that's the general idea. The triad points north to the Virginia border, 2, 3, 4, maybe some spots, a few lollipops over 6 inches. Mountains, a really heavy snow event. Down towards Charlotte, 1 to 4 inch type of snow, and then lighter amounts further south from there. And again, there's never hard and fast lines with these snowstorms. They're always kind of depending on where the heaviest snow band's set up, you get a lot of local variability. And let me say this, one final note. This is going to be a heavy wet snow. You'll probably have 3 to 6 hours of just heavy snow in some spots, and some really intense snow rates. Again, maybe some thunder snow, and there could certainly be some trees and power lines coming down. Also, one final thing to mention is temperatures tonight will wind up in the 20s in many foothill and Piedmont spots. So the roads are going to be a big problem later tonight into tomorrow morning. I think the roads are going to be quite treacherous. The rain going on today will really prevent any significant pre-treating abilities in some instances, and then you're going to get the freezing up of any water on the roads tonight, in addition to the snow falling. So kind of certainly looks like a treacherous night and early morning ahead. All right, that is it for today's edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. God bless.